Get on board the train to the new earth now. Leave behind your fear, let love show you how. There's nothing now that can hold us down. Time to get on board the train to the new earth now. See what can happen when we work things out. When hearts are wide open, love and light comes out. Voices rising like a healing sound, raising frequencies on this sacred ground. Get on board the train to the new earth now. Leave behind your fear, let love show you how. There's nothing now that can hold us down. Time to get on board the train to the new earth now. Hearts and minds together, building something strong. One great family where we all belong. Hope is growing where the dark once stood. The new earth rises for the highest good. Get on board the train to the new earth now. Leave behind your fear, let love show you how. There's nothing now that can hold us down. Time to get on board the train to the new earth now. From silent hearts to voices free, we're painting peace in our destiny. Each soul a spark, each hand a flame. Together we rise, no shame, no blame. The journey calls, no time to wait. Unlock the door, reshape your fate. The new earth breathes in every breath, a new future life with no regret. Get on board the train to the new earth now. Leave behind your fear, let love show you how. There's nothing now that can hold us down. Time to get on board the train to the new earth now.
Welcome everybody. Thanks for being with us here today. I'm looking forward to this a lot. As you can see, we're all set up with the red, so Lilith will be coming in today. So I'm very excited about that. If you haven't heard, she's also going to be teaching her first class in August. Don't have the dates up here, but we'll show you different aspects of that too, because she's really excited about talking about the balance of masculine and feminine, what that's about, and really how far we can go with this to bring this into a different level altogether. So we're going to be working with that. We've got Debbie with us here. Say hi, Debbie.
Hey everybody, I tried to do some bread too.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. We're all set up, so we're in good shape. Anyway, Debbie will be reading the questions that we have here right after the channel. I'm going to bring the channel in, and those of you who are in the chat room, we're probably going to be able to get to some of the ones in the chat room today. We didn't last month at all. So today we're going to try and focus a little bit on the chat room and bring you as many as we can. But we're going to go for about an hour. That's about the length of time that we want to go. There's new algorithms that YouTube uses to be able to do that too. And I will remind you too, if you want to help support us, there's different ways that you can support us. There's obviously, we're a nonprofit organization, so we do accept donations. There's all kinds of places on the website, steverother.org, where you can do that. But that's only one way you can do it. There's a lot of people that can support us in many different ways. One of the ways that you can support us tremendously is to subscribe to this channel. You know, if you get too much email or too much going on in your YouTube, you can always unsubscribe to it. That's not a problem. But when you subscribe to it, that tells YouTube something about us. And we do have a fair amount of subscribers now. I think we're at 15.7 thousand. So we're getting up there, but nonetheless, that is one way that you can actually support us. And of course, to like us, to hit the buttons, you know, everything you can. But that is a really nice way to show your support for us and to show your support for what we're doing here on YouTube. This is always free of charge, of course, and we do quite a bit of work. The other ways that you can support us, of course, is to take a course. We do have all new courses laid out for doing. Like I said, she's going to be coming in August. In July coming up, we have one called The Remembering Room. We'll share a little bit more about that in the next email that goes out. And also, I want to make an announcement really quickly. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Oh, I can. Good. I want to show you the front page of the website real fast, because on the website, there's quite a bit of stuff here. You see the different events that are coming up, the different possibilities of things that you can do. Here's talks about the Remembering Room. This is talking about Lilith's event that she's going to be doing. But down here is kind of the community pulse. This is my page. This is where I leave you notes of things that you might want to know. One of them, of course, is about the community being open. We've opened up a community where you can post, you can bring in all sorts of questions. There's two of them. There is the community, which is open to everyone. And then there's the healing spirit response. This is a place where you can ask for healing. You can do it very simply here by simply writing something. We ask that we read the instructions here. There's some really good instructions on how to do this and what to do. One of the things you can do if you're asking for healing but you don't want to be exposed to everyone, you can simply send it to healing@espavo.org and we'll post it for you anonymously. So there's all kinds of ways you can do that for healing, but come play with us on the boards. We're having a lot of fun. Come back to this real quick. We just played Robin Lane's Get on Board the New Earth Now. We're starting to get a lot of requests for that. So I asked Robin if it would be possible for us to give it away, and she said yes. So you have two links. You have a link to download the MP3. They're automatically also in your, let's see if I can pull that up. I don't know if that'll take me to where I want to go, but if you go to your Backstage Pass, which is here, if you haven't one, if you don't have one, you can sign up for one right here. But if you go to your Backstage Pass, these will be in your Backstage Pass. Oh, it's going to take me all the way through. I have a lot in my Backstage Pass. So anyway, these are the ones that are down here. And you'll see that there's an MP3 here, and an MP4. You can download them straight from here, or I think you can download them right from the front page. So anyway, those are the new things that we're bringing up and bringing to people today. I'm very honored to be able to do that. We've got some more coming because my good friend Rudy Rainers has also given me permission to put up some of his stuff. He is also a very talented musician, and the reason I would put this up, and it's all free of charge, of course, but the reason I would put this up is because people ask for it. We use a lot of his music in the activations, and many times to start a class. So anyway, we'll be doing more of that, but the idea today is to give you as much as we can, and to be able to work with that. I'm sorry, I'm working with a new hat here. Gotta break it in. Anyway, welcome today. So with that, I'm going to drop into channel real quick, and we'll bring you Lilith. Here we go. Espavo, everybody. Greetings from home, everyone. I am Lilith. I am 9th of 9 here with you, working with you this day. It's a joyous day because you have so much going on your planet. We'll tell you there's many opportunities for change, which we'll bring up as well. But there's also an alignment taking place. Now, it is not an alignment of stars per se. It is not an alignment of physical beings. It is an energetic alignment that you have opportunities to make massive changes the rest of this year and moving into the first part of next year. We've just given a class called the 2026 Power Cycle. It basically describes what is taking place, although it's kind of vague because you don't have ways of typically measuring the, oh, we're going to have to fix this hat. This is simply not going to, we'll work with it. Nonetheless, we have many opportunities to do, but what does that mean for normal people? Well, none of you are normal. We hate to tell you that, but that is the reality of it. You're magical beings, all of you. And we are so happy you're where you are, in place to make a difference on this planet. And your time has come. We'll tell you many people will be shifting energy. It is time for new things to start to happen. Doors will open. Yes, some doors will close. Power cycles begin by something you release. Sometimes that is taken away from you. Sometimes it is given to you. Sometimes you decide, I'm done with this, I'm finished with this, I'm moving on. Those are the beginnings of power cycles. Well, it's happened on a massive scale. As we've mentioned in the class, it's happened on a very slow scale, taking things away very slowly so you won't notice as much. But there is a point now where humanity is reaching a level to start a new power cycle where people simply take charge. And that we are looking forward to with great pride. Now, this is basically around the end of this year, starting this in September through December and probably into the first quarter of next year. So this is an incredible time to realign yourself, to finally do some of the things that you dreamt of doing. Yes, even if those doors aren't open, we ask you to push them open a little bit. Now is a wonderful time to do that. Now also, you're on your planet. Your planet has been very well dominated by masculine energy. We'll speak more of that as we go forward. It is not wrong, dear ones. In your early days, it was perceived to be survival. It was perceived to be something that you absolutely needed in these ways. So with that, we'll tell you that that survival mechanism is no longer the primary focus. You are now looking toward unity consciousness rather than just a single survival. So in the very beginning of humanity, in this stage, and we'll tell you that because you have been here many times before, even on Earth. You know about the histories of Lemuria, you know about the histories of Atlantis, and yet you've not been able to find physical evidence of that. Well, there's lots of reasons for that, but we tell you, you have been here 5 other times. This would be the 6th extinction event if that is going to happen. But we tell you, you have new opportunities all the way around to shift things and to change things before that takes place. Now, there's many opportunities to move into other dimensions of time-space, which we'll also speak about, but we don't wish to confuse you too much at this point. Now, the beauty is that doors are opening for different opportunities. Now, women have typically taken a backstage, have taken the subservient role over and over and over again. This was written. This was basically designed by the many who have written your history. And we'll tell you, the history has always been written by the victors. Someone goes and takes over a land and forces everyone out and changes everything and then they go back and write history to support what they did. This has happened over and over again, dear ones, not only on Earth, but in other places as well. We've told stories of Eris, and recently we've told the stories of Idamos, who is the male in Eris. Yes, we know. Sometimes we pronounce everything with a strong E because we are from the family of E. So, fascinating process. My name, Lilith, has no E. And we tell you that because that was not originally my name. My name was given to me by people who rewrote history. You see, my name was Miriam, and it has definitely an E in the Miriam. So the interesting part about that is that after some time, it was well aware that I was the first woman on planet Earth. It was spoken about. It was written in many books of the Bible that you would call the Bible, which have been removed or simply not taken in there. Eris was one of them. You also will hear Zora was one of the books of the Bible that did not make it into your Bible, so to speak. Some of these were hidden as scrolls in different parts of humanity and different parts of your history. And as they were being destroyed. Now, there's lots of stories about why they were hidden and so forth, but most of them were hidden because they were being destroyed. There were so many books at the time, so many things taking place, that your elders, in different ways, decided to make a standard history book. And that's what you call your Old Testament. Even the first 5 books of the Bible, called the Torah, are this process. These were written by men. Please understand that. They were written with some beautiful things. So we're not going to completely describe them as being evil or difficult, but they were written by men. And men were leaning toward men leaders, not women. You'll notice that there's very few books in the Bible that are written by women in general. And you'll also find that many of them, Mary's book, Mary wrote an incredible book, and parts of it have been found even. But you're still uncovering scrolls that are being found from different places. Yes, you found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yes, you found the scrolls on the farm that day. There's different scrolls that are popping up. What are these? These are testaments of things that happened during these time frames. But they were not chosen to be in this particular process because this was being written by man. Now, all of these books were written by men. They were rarely written by the people that they were given the names to, and some of the books were written by one person over and over again under different names. So a lot of this was changed to produce something very beautiful. And there are some incredible things in there. Please do not dissuade all of it because of the stories we're telling you, but it was altered. Now, in that altercation, I was taken completely out. There was only a small reference in today's Bible, so to speak, of my existence. It is in Genesis at the very beginning, where it talks about making Adam and a female from dust. That was me. That's who I was. And the whole setup in the beginning was very simple. Adam wanted to take the lead. Adam wanted to not just take the lead, and it was spoken that I refused to lay beneath him. Well, it wasn't about that. It was about being subservient. It was about not having an active part. So basically, what took place was that later in Genesis, it was spoken that they laid Adam down, put him to sleep, took one of his ribs, and made Eve. But then they demonized Eve, not only me, but Eve as well. They told you that because she bit the apple that she was supposed to not bite. What was the apple? The apple was the tree of knowledge. Why would you not want someone to bite the tree of knowledge? Interesting stories that are completely misunderstood. And some of them have some real truth behind them, including the Garden of Eden. Now, there's different aspects of all of this, but we'll be telling you more about this as we go forward, because there's so much beautiful energy in this. Now, likewise, on Eris, which was another dimension of Earth. So literally, this is another place. Not only are you multidimensional, but the Earth herself is multidimensional. We know it's very confusing, but the reality is there are 11 different Earths, plus her higher self. And you live on one of them. One that I was incarnate on until recently was Eris, and that was leaning in the opposite direction. As we've mentioned, dear ones, you have 11 different spirits all existing at the same time. The 12th part of your existence is the higher self. It connects you to each part of these. It connects you to every part of yourself and brings back your perfection. It also connects you to home, so that when you channel, when you get inspiration, when you get ideas, when you get these beautiful creations, they come through your higher self. But it also spreads out things to the other dimensions. One of the aspects of your other dimensions is very simple. Choice. When you make a choice, especially when something important, you choose one, and you always wonder what would happen to the other one. Well, the other one is actually chosen by one of your other dimensions. Similarly, planet Earth chose a masculine form to lead the way. Very simple. Eris chose the feminine form to lead the way. And dear ones, we were out of balance severely. Kind of like planet Earth is now. And we've done several things to correct that, done several things to work with that energy in a different way, to be able to balance this energy, because when you balance it, magic happens. You open up all kinds of dimensional doors. You open up all sorts of new aspects of things. It is really beautiful. But you have to get past some of the early histories and the way things have been set out. You understand, dear ones, that you even call it mankind? That's an interesting process. You don't call it womankind. In fact, woman is woe man, is it not? So everything that you have done from your early history has put women in a subservient role. Now, there's lots of things to that. We're not telling you that women have to do the same thing as men. That is not necessarily true. You're going to be good at many things that men do, but sometimes you put yourself in a role, and men do the same thing. Now, there are many men coming into this planet with incredible balance of feminine energy. They are empathic. They're very empathic. Some of them had great difficulties landing and had to kind of cut themselves off. This is even one of the effects of what you call autism on your planet. So they're here, they're picking up energy from everything, everywhere. Give them a safe space, a balance to work with, and you're going to see some beautiful things evolve out of all of this. Autism is not the only aspect of this, but it is one way that was able to happen. So now you have men coming in with a beautiful feminine energy, and this can be very powerful. This is a new way of leading planet Earth. Now, what if you really balance this energy? Well, the biggest question is, would you really need leaders? And that's the part that we tell you is different. Leaders are liable to take a different role going forward. Right now, they're some of the most powerful people on your planet because you have given them your power. What if that wasn't necessary? What if you find that you could balance without powerful leaders, and leaders did the most important things, like making sure the trash was picked up, making sure that the streets were safe, making sure that your schools were solid and effective. Wonderful things that governments can do in a collective. And yet, your governments are now taking masculine energy by force. And it's moving in many different directions. And it's not just one. It's many places throughout the globe that have felt this wave of energy. There's a lot to this, but there's hope. And that's the beautiful part. That is why I am here. And I'll tell you, dear ones, Eris was able to change this. It wasn't easy. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened in increments. It happened with events that took place. We told you about one event that took place with Edemas. It sounded like, oh, everything would change forever, but that was only one event that took place in different ways. And we told you the story of Sira. Yes, we know you probably pronounced it Sarah, but we pronounce the E because it is the family of E. So Sira and Edemas were male and female on Eris. And we told a little bit of their stories. We have many more stories we're going to share with you. But also, please understand, your history has been altered. It has been written by males. So it is deeply, deeply ingrained in so many areas of your life. You can change all of this by taking your power now in a new way. Balancing the energy, watch the smile on your face return as you feel this power cycle coming through. The power cycle can be a beautiful thing because it means that you do not feel like you're being weighed upon. You feel like you're actually in control and can do some beautiful things. That is the aspect that we're looking for. That is the new earth. You stand in front of it now. The door is open. You can walk in and play anytime you wish, but the old ways will not work. Not in the new earth. Enjoy this journey, dear ones. You're closer than you think. You are the magicians of the game board. We love you dearly, and watch the magic that you're about to pull off. Well done. Well done. And now we will take some questions.
Welcome back, Lilith. I think everyone in the room was excited to have you come back yet again and answer some questions. So the first one is about intelligence. There are people with high and low intelligence and everything in between. Is there a reason for this? After all, it partly determines what you experience in life and how you experience certain things. Does it also have to do with consciousness? Will intelligence change in 5D humanity? We thank you for your time, always.
There are different aspects that you would call intelligence. And please understand, dear ones, you have found ways of measuring this because it's so important to you as humans. What we look at is something quite different. You see, if you go back in your history, you basically break things down according to what you would call intelligence. And you basically say that before a certain date, you were just hunters and gatherers. You didn't know how to do things like farming and be able to come together and create communities. Well, that simply was not true. Now, if you go all the way back to what you would call the cavemen, the Neanderthals, they were wonderful people. They had huge hearts. Did they have incredible intelligence? No, they did not need it. But they were wonderful humans. You learned in that process. So we see you incarnating in many different aspects of humanity. Some were very intelligent, some were not. Now, what of the hunter-gatherers? Well, you're taking a few things into consideration. One thing that we will tell you about those times is that the earth was incredibly abundant Why on earth would you want to farm anything when you can simply go out in your backyard and pull up whatever you want? That was the hunter-gatherers to begin with. They found everything in full abundance. It wasn't until much later that places started to grow. You started to form societies, and those societies weighed heavily on the abundance of planet Earth that you learned to farm. But even when you farm, those articles that you bring, those beings that you raise to slaughter, to eat, are not as healthy as the ones that you did when you were hunter-gatherers. So there are many aspects that you can do of this. We tell you some beautiful stories that you're finding out. You're now finding out new beginnings of humanity that you did not know about before. Now, do they show great signs of intelligence? Have they left behind great, massive structures? Many of those structures were actually built by your parental races anyway, but you have great histories behind you. So please don't think that earlier on was not intelligent. They were, in a different way. What is important now? You have measured intelligence. You have your IQ tests, which don't really measure intelligence. They measure what they want to measure about a person. But it's a fascinating way to look at it. Now, does that mean that a person with high intelligence is better than a person with lower intelligence? It's quite the opposite sometimes, dear ones. We tell you that people that have really high IQs have great difficulty getting along on this planet. There are many of them that have incredible genius IQs, but they can't tie their shoes. They can't do normal things because they're so wrapped up in the higher aspects of their intelligence. There are many people that can be very intelligent but can't communicate, can't connect with other people. This we see a lot. So please don't think that intelligence is a marker. What we look for is what you would call spiritual IQ. We look for how much you can connect to yourself. And that's a smile on your face. That's a part of your knowing of who you really are. That is what we try to give you as the group of 9. That is what we're here for. That is what we call empowerment. To be able to awaken you to that part of yourself, to raise your spirit. Now, can you go to school? Can you get your degrees? Can you get all the... Yes, of course you can. You can do all those wonderful things. And they're tremendous for your complicated, almost overcomplicated societies that you have in process right now. But it's all returning to the heart, dear ones. That's the idea. You've been way out of balance with the head, taking the lead in everything. Now the heart has to come on board and balance the head. The same way that masculine can balance feminine. You need both in this world that you're building. The same is true with the head and the heart. So know that your own connection is probably more important than anything else. And know that that whole idea of intelligence is liable to take on different aspects going forward. The actual equation of it, the actual part of it, whether you're a Mensa member or whether you simply have an average IQ, doesn't make a lot of difference. You're going to find that's the heart energy and the heart IQ that is really moving forward. I hope that answered your question, Espavo.
Thank you, Lilith. The next one is from Jeannie, and she said yesterday, or maybe the last time, you spoke about humans being controlled. I see the effects of people I know to be intelligent, strongly believing in conspiracy theories. Who is controlling us and how?
It is kind of difficult to actually answer the question of who's doing it because there are so many people doing it. You must understand, dear ones, you have a bodysuit. We'll speak much more of the bodysuit going forward and do classes on what we are calling spiritual psychology too. But the bodysuit's a big part of it. The simple way to describe a bodysuit is when you were born on this planet, you were given a robot. And that robot was going to walk around in this body and act and present who you are. Now, the robot had to be trained. Very simple. The robot had to be evolved, had to know what was right, what was wrong, had to know where successes were. So you trained this robot with all these things and belief systems and ideas and things that you wanted to go forward. That is what we call your bodysuit. You see, you have two brains, and this is well known in psychology as well. Two brains, you have the fast brain, which is the bodysuit. This is the robot that you've trained. You've told it what to do, you've told it how to do it. It makes most of your decisions for you, and that is the part of you that can be controlled. The other part of you, the regular brain, what we'll call the conscious brain, takes a tremendous amount of energy to run. It's not easy. You can exhaust yourself if you're always in the conscious brain. So you train the robot to do all these things for you. And that's the idea of the bodysuit. Now, the bodysuit contains your belief systems. It contains your successes, your failures, all the things that you've learned. And it's been trained. The easy illustration we use for this is driving. If you drive home from work, you've done it a million times. Your brain is either in conversation to yourself or something else, or maybe even someone in the car with you, and your brain is not driving the car. Your bodysuit is driving the car. You've taught it how to drive your car. It actually does very well, as long as it knows the way home. If you take it into a strange city, a place you've never been before, or alter the conditions, all of a sudden it's raining like crazy. Now your consciousness has to drive that car. And instead of getting home and feeling good, you get home, you're exhausted because you were so tense on the drive home the whole time. You had to use a different brain. It is the robot that can be controlled by other people. It's some of it is as simple as advertising, repetition of seeing things over and over again. But as you start to understand about this robot, as you start to understand how the bodysuit works for you, you can program it yourself. You can put in safeguards. You can, on your computers, you have antivirus software. You can do the same thing with a bodysuit. There's ways of basically understanding when you see things that can want to control you. Now, why do conspiracy theories grab people? Well, it's very simple. They hit your heart. They know exactly where you can do things that you may have thought. Most of the conspiracy theories have at least a tiny bit of truth in it that they can tag on and tag your heart. A question deep inside that they answer, and you know something that nobody else knows. That feels good to humans. And therefore, conspiracy theories travel 7 times faster and farther on the internet than the truth does. So it's literally a feeling that they can tag it. But it is this bodysuit. They're working with your bodysuit. They're reacting. A lot of things that I feel that's right. I just feel that that's right. But many times it'll make you angry. That is not a way to go. If you are reacting out of anger, somebody has you. Very simple. If you're reacting out of, I know something that nobody else knows, they got you. So please understand that these are there. They're fun. Some of them are fun to look at. Some of them are interesting to work with. But they also tend to control your societies many times. You've seen different things of that. And we've spoken of that many times. But that is how you can be controlled. Now, the technology has advanced greatly in the last 7 years. Tremendously. Much more than you're aware of. There is technology out there that is constantly being used. It's a simple formula, but it is being used in many places throughout the world to control people voting, to control people buying things, to control people understanding things or not understanding things. That is their bodysuit. You can learn how to work with this beautiful robot that you've been given, how to program it, how to watch it, how to engage the conscious brain, how to weigh things out sometimes that you've never thought of weighing out before. Those are magic. And that's what we tell you has happened. And we were speaking of this in the class, the 2026 Power Cycles, that was coming up, because that is exactly what you can break free from during this power cycle that we just talked about, coming in the next few months all the way through the first part of next year. We hope that happens. Espavo.
Thank you, Lilith. I think many of us wish to break into a new power cycle. We have now a question that sounds kind of personal, but I think it's applicable for many of us. She has a question that's weighed on her heart for nearly 20 years. She's 81, and she has a daughter and grandchildren and etc. that all have had and suffered from a devastating genetic condition, and it's very painful physically, and it keeps getting worse as they age. She's discovered that these conditions have resulted in his family suffering for generations. I am deeply spiritual and have had many profound experiences, yet I still seek clarity on the spiritual reasons behind this intense suffering. How can I understand why my daughter, granddaughter, and great-grandson seem to have agreed to bear these incredible burdens? I long for an explanation, both spiritual and earthly, that offers an opportunity to find peace amid this heartache.
We'll give you the basis of it. We did an entire seminar called Generational Healing for Generational Trauma. Generational trauma is something that is understood on different levels. We'll explain it from your psychological aspects, and then we'll explain it from the spiritual aspects that we understand. When a person experiences a tremendous trauma, a difficulty, a challenge in some way, they try to resolve it during their life. They try to find a space for it. If they are unable to reconcile that trauma, if they are unable to put it in a space, it goes into their genes. Every thought you have, dear ones, changes your genetic structure. That's an interesting process. Now, when you have children, guess what you pass on? You not only pass on your genes, but you pass on your generational challenges. If you are unable to resolve things in your lifetime, you pass them on to your children, who pass them on to their children. But now, that is the genetic aspect of generational trauma. Now, from our perspective, we see it a little different. You have a trauma, you have something really difficult that one being has experienced. They're unable to rectify it. They're unable to bring it into their essence. And there's many aspects of this. Now, other people come into that generational line, but they choose that. You choose where you're going to be born. Some of you are in backup plans and you had to make very last-minute choices. But for most of you, you have chosen a genetic line. If there is a big negative imprint in that genetic line, you're aware of it as a spirit. And you actually choose to take that on, to try and resolve it, or at least resolve parts of it by bringing it into the next generation and understanding it. That is where you are. Your entire generational aspect has experienced some very negative physical aspects that you've been trying to work with. This goes back to an unbelievable trauma that is in your genetic line. You can uncover that trauma. It will help to understand. But when people understand that this is something they're working on in a family line and not something they did wrong, not something they have to feel guilty about, or something that they have to correct in some way, now you can start working with this. You can start finding the right place for it. You can use this negative imprint, these negative stamps, if you will, as a positive motivation. And that is huge. You're making massive changes in your genetic line in this generation and the one that came after you. Keep it up. You're on good, solid ground with this. Now, what are the reasons? Well, they go back there. The truth of the matter is humans have been incredibly cruel to other humans. Incredibly. It's unbelievable, the unbelievable tortures that have taken place. There are many people still working with many of the things that happened during the Second World War. There are so many unbelievable traumas that took place during these times that were not able to be reconciled. Reconcile them now. Find them, own them, know you took this on, and release as much of that as you can. Forgive. That's a huge part of it. And start moving forward. That will affect the physical pain involved with all of you. One person can start it. Great job. You're holding the key yourself. Well done. Espavo.
Thank you for that, and I'm sure many of us have some similar situations. The next question, it comes from Garrett in the Netherlands, and he says I think it's a he, there are more than 2 billion Christians in the world. That is the largest religion. Some Christians say that Jesus died for the sins of humanity. Others say that he was here as a good example to follow. What does the group think about this?
Very difficult to tell in many ways. You see, the man called Jesus was a human. Very simple. He came with incredible gifts. He was a channel. Many of your beings were channels, what we call channels. They received direct information through their higher selves from the other side of the veil. Some were here to plant seeds. You've had them over and over. Some are in the spiritual arena that you talk about. Buddha, very clear channel, very beautiful, different aspects to bring something different in, a different way to look at yourself. Then you've got Muhammad, you've got Moses, you've got all the different aspects of so many different ways of looking at yourself in a different way. That's perfect. Jesus was one of these. The reason that you have so many people, almost a third of the population of planet Earth, in one area alone, is because it's been made very palatable. It's been made very open and able to understand. The stories are tremendous. Go with the stories. Are they all exactly true? No, they've been altered. They've all been altered. Your history has been altered over and again. The biggest challenge that we have had with your current Bible is that it contains a tremendous amount of ego. God having ego, Jesus having ego, and working from that process. And that was added in later. Many times when you don't understand something, you write a history to explain it. And that has happened in the Bible over and over again. So it's very difficult to understand all these aspects. But the idea is take the essence of it. What has this religion brought? One of the greatest things that all religions bring is community. It's be able to understand things on the same level. That is incredible. That is excellent. So what do we believe about whether this was this way or this way? It's hard to say. We've seen a lot of history being changed on planet Earth. And you still do not know the full story of Mary Magdalene. She was a very magical being who walked next to Jesus, not in front of him and not behind him. Yet those stories have been changed. There's a lot of this that has been there. Much of the energies that you'll see coming forward will set some of these records straight. But that's about the best that we can tell you at this point. Find your own belief systems, and we tell you some of the beliefs are wonderful because you can believe in something. What we have difficulty with sometimes is a belief system, where if you believe this, you must believe all these other things as well. And many of those other things were added to the story, to make the story. And we hope that helps. Espavo.
Thank you, Lilith. I'll take a related question from the chat, just because it's so very similar lines. And this question is, hello, I'd like an interpretation of the Adam and Eve story, and if you are under the authority of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. You did tell us a little bit about Adam and Eve when you were first introducing yourself again today.
Well, Adam and Eve were far before Jesus of Nazareth. So the two stories do not actually add up in different ways, and nor are they put together in the Bible, so to speak, your histories. The chronicles that we have used on Eris were very similar in some ways. They were incredible truths that we were able to build on, but they were leaned in one direction, which is what we're trying to correct here and show you that you have other options in different ways. But there are many aspects of this that can be very useful to you in so many beautiful ways. Now, the stories around the things that were taking place, the Adam and Eve being the first beings on earth, well, that's kind of difficult to do because you would have a lot of incest for many generations before you were able to do it in different ways. We tell you, you actually had 6 parental races that started 6 different races that you will eventually find out about. Currently, you believe everything came out of Africa, and many of them did. Many of these races, at least 4 of these races, did come from Africa. And they're finding new things in South Africa. They've recently found a new level of Homo, not Homo sapiens, but different parts that existed at the same time and even existed before Homo sapiens. These are all part of you. You separate them, you say, no, this is only humans and this is only the aspect of it. So it's very difficult to bring this story down to Adam and Eve, but Adam and Eve did exist. Please understand that. This was a story that was repeated over and over again. And the truth is that I was the first wife of Adam. I was his first partner. And it did not work too well because Adam literally wanted to dominate everything. I was a very powerful being. I had a lot of energy. I had a lot to say. And that did not work out well. So the beings that you have referred to in many different ways, but some of your parental races created Eve. And that was a different story. Now, in your Bible, it does not mention that because Zorah was taken out. You don't find the book of Enoch. You don't find many of the books that were talked about me specifically. And of course, they ended up demonizing me, making me a demon because I did not play the game the way they wanted to play the game. Well, that's an interesting aspect. Now, we don't have judgment about that. Adam was not a bad guy. That didn't work in that way. But I was his first wife, and that simply did not work. So basically, his second wife was Eve, and they ended up demonizing her as well. They ended up making her, they now tell you that all the pain of childbirth is due to Eve's horrible decision to eat the apple from the tree of wisdom. Interesting story. Now, what is another way of looking at that? Well, one of the ways that you can actually look at this is that some of your parental races, some of your what you will call ETs, that were here working with you, tried to create a safe space for you to be in and told you not to go out of those areas because it was dangerous. You'd have to go into survival mode. And they created a very sacred space where you had everything that you could possibly desire. But you were told to not go further, to not think, to not worry about what was outside of those places. Eve did all of you a great, great deed when she bit that apple because it broke the bonds that were there. Now, your Bible has written that God sent her out and cast you guys out into the... Good for you. That is the story that we tell. It is a bit different. It is quite a bit different than what you look at. And it doesn't make any difference what you believe as far as what you choose to believe. That is fine. There is energy that you can get from all of it. But we tell you it is not women's fault. And that is at the basis of your story of the Garden of Eden and the beginning of Adam and the beginning of Eve. And it's a shame, an absolute shame. Now, that can be changed. So that's a way of looking at it. We realize it's quite different than many of your belief systems have preached and different ways of looking at it, but that is the story we'll tell you. There's different ways of looking at all of this, and that's how we look at it. We hope that helps. Espavo.
Thank you very much. We have a question from Andy, and he says he's been dragging of late, and it feels more than just the heat of the summer. Something more widespread, maybe even purposeful. Are we to be resting now in preparation for what energies are coming? And if so, what are we shoring up against? Or is this really just the summer getting to us?
This summer is showing you aspects in different areas that you have not seen in a long time. Europe is being hit with incredible energies right now, incredible heat waves. You're dealing with things that you've never dealt with before. The planet is very clearly in stress. She is changing very rapidly. Very few people are talking about it. Your news is being controlled in many parts of the world to not talk about it. And that is a shame, because she is reaching out for help. Now, this is all part of the power cycle of which we're also talking about. So your analogy is actually a very good one. This is a time to rest. This is a time to get extra energy, to be thoughtful, to not overwork, to not overthink. This is a time to relax and gain your strength. Many of you will be also finding new directions open. Some of you will find that doors close in your face that you were not expecting. And that can be very difficult for humans, because you try to think several steps down the road and plan everything in advance. But the reality is, a lot of you are being changed to align you to be in a proper position for what is coming. Now, we tell you this is not definite. This can always be overcome. You're on the planet of free choice. It may be that this power cycle doesn't take. Well, that would be a shame. But the energies are here. And many of you are feeling it through your physical bodies. Some of you are blaming it on the heat. Some of you are blaming it on the weather. Different aspects. That's fine. But we tell you there's a power cycle coming. And if you're ready to step forward, it's a perfect time to do it. Espavo.
Thank you for that as well. This area was alluded to earlier, talking about violence and what humanity has done to each other. So the question is, before we come to Earth, we enter into all kinds of contracts to learn our lessons. This we learn as light masters. There's so much violence in the world. Women who are raped, so many people brutally murdered. Look at the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis during the war. It is difficult to understand that these are contracts and that souls willed this beforehand. Is there no less violent way to learn these lessons? Thank you for answering.
Of course there is. It's why we're here. It's why I am here now, to show different possibilities. Much of this cruelty, and again, we're not pointing fingers, but much of it comes from masculine energy of force. Masculine energy is around power. It's around physical power. It's around emotional power. It's around spiritual power. Look at your churches. How many female priests do you have? The reality is it's around all of these aspects in different ways. And again, it's not wrong. We did the same thing on Eris in the opposite way. We benefited and favored the female over the male for a very long time. The male had a subservient role, which is very interesting. We'll tell you more stories about that as we go forward. But these aspects are absolutely incredible on Earth. Now, the cruelty is beyond description. That is very sick part of humanity. And humanity has realized that. There have been other planets that were even more cruel than humans, and they don't exist anymore. So we tell you there is a range, and you have reached close to the end of your range of humanity to be able to be this cruel to each other. And it happens all the time. Yes, you know about it when you have something that takes place like World War II. You know about it when something takes place and hits your news, but you don't know about the large aspects of it. It is every single day. And it's happening on your planet more than you know. You can stop it, all of it, by balancing your own energy, by stepping forward into your work, by stepping forward into new directions, by creating and speaking your truth. Even though you may not quite trust your truth in some ways, you can look at the horrendous things that have happened. You make movies about them. You love to get scared, so you make movies about this incredible cruelty that takes place. And it excites some people. That can change. That can change very quickly. And as we tell you, there's a whole new energy of people coming in that are incredibly empathic. They will not be able to watch movies like that. They will not be able to see the man's inhumanity to man. They won't be able to tolerate it anymore. And that is perfect. Step up. Own your own reality. And own what is in your field. And declare what you're going to do next. Because you can change all of it. Espavo.
Here's a short question from the chat room, wanting to know what is happening to our DNA right now.
Your DNA is evolving. It is basically uncovering. You have much more than 2 strands of DNA. There are 12 strands of your DNA. Some of them were unplugged a while back. They still exist. They're in an energetic form, not a physical form. So therefore, when you look at things under a microscope, you're only going to see the physical aspects of it. But there are different DNA strands that can now start being reconnected. Some of these have to do with your pineal gland that we've been working with over very long periods of time. And you see so many other people doing pineal gland activations. These are wonderful, wonderful ways of starting to reconnect some of the things that you have basically lost over periods of time. And again, it's not wrong. Don't look at the difficulties of it. Look at the positive aspects and the things that you can work with. From your medical sciences, they say the DNA never changes. That is about to change. They're starting to understand that it does evolve and it does change. The same way your genes change every thought you have, your genetic structure changes a little bit to accommodate that thought. If it is a truthful thought, that's great. If it's an exciting conspiracy theory, it changes it in that direction too. You end up pulling in more. You become the magnet to pull in those things. Watch yourself very carefully as to what you get excited about and what you expose yourself to. And that is difficult during these times, but you'll work on it. That is pulling out of the rabbit hole. Espavo.
All right, we'll take the last question in the question sent in beforehand, and this is from Angel in the UK. In Lilith's recent message you had sent out, she talked about the Chronicles of Eris. Can she explain further about what they are?
The Chronicles of Eris were an attempt to write the history. And there were many Chronicles of Eris, not just one. But there was one that was adopted by the council and basically the ruling party of Eris. And that would be very similar to your Bible. It was an account of history. Now, the history was changed and altered in the same way that much of your energy has been altered in different ways. Much of the history has been rewritten over and over and over again. And the chronicles were changed. This would be very similar in some ways to you rewriting in your United States. You have your whole Congress and the whole ideas of how things run. And you have your whole set of circumstances that you have written. This would be changing those circumstances. which is very difficult to do. And that was the truth of what the chronicles were. There was one main chronicle, as we mentioned, that was used by the majority of people. This could be actually similar to different religions on your planet. And the chronicles were simply the chronicles of truth. That was the idea, to write down and to share with people what you had gone before and what had been learned from what had been gone before. And that was beautiful. There were some beautiful things in the chronicles. And yet, when they are followed specifically as an ABC, we have to do this, we have to do this, then it turns into a belief system. And that is more challenging. And that is the same challenge that we ran into in Eris. And not that we had to throw out the chronicles. The chronicles are beautiful. They're part of it. But we need to understand they were written by previous beings, not by divine sources. They were channeled, certainly. They were given messages, but they were rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, and many times for control. And that was a shame. But yet the chronicles are now being straightened out on Eris. There are new chronicles being written, even of your history, to show possibilities, to show new energies, and to show a balanced energy that you have now attained. And on Eris, we tell you, it took a lot, but it's happening, and that's magical. And we thank planet Earth for that, because we had a timeline cross with planet Earth. Both Eris and planet Earth were imprinted with each other's energy. On Eris, it took. We saw what was taking place. We empowered the masculine. We allowed them to be much higher part of everyday life. Gave them different roles. We started thinking of them differently. We started working with them and uncovering incredible creativity that we had hidden from ourselves. We hope that happens with planet Earth as well. Espavo.
Okay, perhaps one more from the chat. This is from Joy. It's a little similar to an earlier question, but we'll see what Lilith has to say for this one. Who are they that want to keep us in the lower vibrations and less conscious? Pardon me. What is their interest? And do we do that also ourselves as a kind of habit?
Oh, that's a good point. That is exactly what takes place. You know, if you understand your brains a little bit more, you will understand that when you have different synaptics that go in different ways and different paths that cross into your different aspects and parts of your brain, when you have a success, you feed that energy through one of those pathways. That pathway gets a little stronger, gets a little wider. It opens up. So the next time you're approaching a similar problem, it goes down that same pathway. Even if it has to go to a different part of your brain, it goes down that same pathway. So opening up all the pathways is what's happening. It's very confusing for many and very open at the same time, but it shows different ways of dealing with everything in different ways. And that is some of the energies that you're starting to experience, not only with your brain, but also with your belief systems and many of the things that you've known that have gone before. Now, we also tell you this, all of you are searching for truth of some sort, something that resonates with you, something that stirs your heart. And we can give you all sorts of things. We can give you things to read. We can give you things to experience. But you already know it. The truth of who you are and why you are here is written deeply in your own heart. Uncovering that and following that is the next level of humanity. That takes you into a fifth dimensional space where much of this duality that you have been experiencing and control goes away. It's not possible to control someone who balances that energy, not in the same way. And control is, many people wish to control you. It's very common If you are looking to sell a product, you're wishing to control people, to present your product, to make it available, to do what you can, to present it in such a way, in repetition, and talking to their bodysuit, and all the things that we've talked about. So we don't think it's wrong what's happening, but what we think is it's gone a bit farther than you had imagined. And it's time to awaken from the dream, which is why we say it's time to wake the fuck up. Very simple. Time to start listening to what is written on that heart. Draw your own conclusions, make your own sense. Don't call something right or wrong, because that puts you back into this third dimensional reality. Gain everything from it. Take the best of everything and leave the rest behind. Don't call it bad. Don't call it good. Just say, not for me at this moment. And step forward. That is heart discernment. And with all the technology that you have going on planet Earth, all the AI, all the different things that are being used to control you, as well as other aspects, none of them can work with your heart discernment. If you learn that, and you learn to listen to what is written deep on your heart, rather than what you hear from someone, rather than someone who's trying to excite you, now you're starting a whole new energy. And that is a fifth dimensional reality. We hope that helps. And thank you for asking. Perfect question. Espavo.
Thank you. And I think if the intent is to keep it to an hour, we're a little beyond that. So I'll let Lilith and Steve decide if we keep going or not. And we have not really too many questions left, but I'm very thankful people came today and sent questions in, and of course, Lilith for coming in.
Dear ones, we thank you so much for being here at this point. You're starting to make a change on your planet. It's slow, it should be slow, but it is really time to awaken to a new energy. Now, some of the things that we have spoken are not going to resonate with everyone. It's not meant to. What we try to do is give you a different view. What is written deep in your heart is the truth of everything. We hope we are able to tag a little bit of that, to bring it forward for you so that you can use it in your daily lives in different ways, to be able to live in comfort, in joy, because that's what you were designed for. You were designed to live 300 years. That is starting to change as well. You're finding a lot of things that are taking place. That is, as technology evolves, it's getting more confusing to find the things of truth, because they're all being altered in different ways to manipulate your bodysuit, to manipulate your robot, if you will. Now you find ways of thanking that robot, of reprogramming it in different ways to be able to see who you truly are and express the light from home. Well done, dear ones. Well done. The next time we come together, we will focus mostly on questions in the chat room. Espavo, dear ones, we love you dearly. I am Lilith. I ask you to treat each other with respect, nurture one another every chance you get, and play well together as you create this new game. I am Lilith, 9th of 9, proud to be here with you. Espavo. Everyone, just want to give you a quick heads up on something you can really do to help us. If you like what you're seeing here and you enjoy what we're giving you here at YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second And it doesn't put you on any other mailing list, but it keeps you informed of things that we're doing here. And it kind of puts it into your feed. What you may not know is that really helps us with Google. Google actually promotes people that have larger followings with the subscription. So it can help us a lot. You can always unsubscribe if it's uncomfortable for you, but it really helps us a lot. And if you like us and push that like button and the subscribe button, it's a big deal for us. So it's like a donation, and we appreciate it. We're here to help spread empowerment, and we'd like your help with that. So thanks so much. Also, you may have heard the song that we play at the very beginning. You can now get that song, Get on Board the Train to the New Earth Now, from Robin Lane. You can now get it and download it free of charge at our website. Go to steverother.org, simply sign up for a free Backstage Pass, and you'll see that it's included in the Backstage Pass. So when you go into your area there, you can actually find the downloads of both an MP3 and an MP4 with all the words like we show. Spread the word. It's a beautiful time to be alive here, and we can all make a difference if we just hold hands. Espavo, everybody. Now back to it.